Very good evening, students. My name is Aman, and our topic of discussion is digestive system. So let's just start, Clar, with our topic, digestive system. So, what is digestive system is all about? Digestive system is a specific type of system which is present in our body, responsible for breakdown of the complex food into the simplest form, so as our body is able to absorb it and able to generate the energy from it. So, it's simply consisting of what? It's simply consisting of organs of digestion of food that help in breakdown into the simpler substances which are simply getting absorbed in the body. Before starting the topic, let's just understand the meaning of the process called digestion. So, what's the meaning of digestion? It's simply the process by which the food, that is the complex food, or we can simply say the food like protein, fat, or complex carbohydrate are changes into amino acids, fatty acid, glycerol, and glucose. So they are exactly getting absorbed by the body and are utilized by the body. So in this process, it's simply the mechanical process and the enzymatic process. This can be achieved by these two methods. By a mechanical process, with the help of the teeth, the food is simply breaking down into the smaller pieces. For further digestion, by a enzymatic means, there are certain types of the enzymes released by the different glands of our body which are responsible for break down the food into the simplest form. Okay, like macronutrients which are mainly utilized like protein, fat, and mainly the carbohydrate. These are the three specific type of macronutrients which are by the process of digestion get changes into a simple form and are absorbed into the bloodstream for the use of body. Okay. Now, what are the components of digestive system? Let's just understand the components of digestive system. Okay. Just give me a second. Okay, so what are the components of the digestive system or the parts of digestive system? There are two major part of the digestive system, starting from the alimentary canal. That's the first component. Okay, it's a 9 meter or 30 feet long specific region, starting from the buccal cavity and end to the anal region of the body. Okay, it simply comprises of the following specific parts: buccal cavity, which comprises of the which is also we can call as the mouth region, in which teeth, tongue, and the salivary glands are the major portion which forming the oral region or the buccal cavity. Okay, next to this we have a food pipe or esophagus. After that we have stomach region. Then the food passes to the small intestine and absorbed, and the waste is simply transmitted to the large intestine, where it simply ends to the rectum region, and finally the waste shifted and exit out of the body by the help of anus. Okay, this is simply the parts of the alimentary canal. Next to this we have a digestive glands which are playing very important role, the major role helping in the digestion of food with the help of their enzymes or biocatalyst. Okay, these are exactly the fluids which are necessary for the digestion. It includes the salivary gland, which are present in the mouth region, gastric glands, liver, pancreas, intestinal glands. These are the certain specific types of the glands which are responsible for digesting the food in the different region of the alimentary canal. Okay, so let's just begin our topic of discussion with a elementary canal. So what is elementary canal is all about? As I told you exactly, students, that elementary canal starting from the major region, that is the mouth, that is the buccal cavity. Okay, so let's just study about the buccal cavity region or the oral cavity. This buccal cavity or oral cavity is simply comprises of the teeth, which are very important and are responsible for mastication of food. Mastication means break down the food, break down the food into the smaller pieces. This is all the major role played by the teeth, that is mechanical digestion. We all know that our teeth is simply present in the or fitted on the jaw. Okay, exactly, the jawbone in the sockets. So we have this thecodont type of teeth. Okay, next to this we have exactly two sets of teeth. Means there are two specific type of teeth like temporary teeth or mill teeth, which are simply replaced by a set of a complete permanent type of teeth. As you all know, students, we have 32 permanent teeth, which are exactly we can call as the permanent teeth, including all four specific type of teeth. That is heterodont type of. We have four specific type. So we can use a word heterodont for it. And what is exactly the dental formula for the humans? For the one side of the upper jaw and the lower side of the second specific jaw. So we can write is like in this manner: 2 1 2 3 upon 2 1 2 3. 2 1 2 3 upon 2 1 2 3 here. Incisors, canine, premolars, and molars. Here also in the same way, when it's simply getting multiplied with 2, exactly what we can simply observe: 32. Okay, exactly 32 are the total number of teeth that we can simply observe in the humans. Okay, now next to this, the functions of different set of teeth. Just a minute. The functions of different sets of the teeth, like we have incisors, canine, premolars, and molars. So this incisors plays a very important role. Here you can simply observe in the diagram that this portion, this starting portion of the mouth is simply consisting of incisors. These are responsible for cutting. Function of incisors exactly cutting. Okay. Next to this we have canines. Canines are responsible for tearing. Canines are responsible for tearing the flesh. They are more specifically modified in case of carnivores animals. Next to this, we have premolar and molar, responsible for grinding and crushing the food. And crushing food. Okay, grinding and crushing food. Okay, so this is all about the teeth region. Next to this, we have salivary glands that are play very important role from why because this salivary gland mainly perform two specific functions. Like first, they are responsible for the releasing of the saliva, and that saliva is simply composed of salivary amylase, which are responsible for the carbohydrate digestion. Next to this, saliva play a very important role in binding with the food. As the food is simply getting mechanically digested by the teeth, they are simply helping in the mixing it with that saliva is simply getting mixed with the food, and with the help of the tongue it simply form a bolus, so that it's simply getting absorbed that swallowed by the by our neck region or through our neck region to the oesophagus. Okay, the salivary gland are what exactly? They are the exocrine gland, students. Exocrine glands means they release their secretion by the help of their duct. Okay, they produces the saliva. They contain the enzyme, as I told you, salivary amylase, that help in carbohydrate digestion and provide the lubrication for easy swallowing. Okay, three types of salivary glands are present. That is the parotid, submandibular, and sublingual. As we can simply see in the diagram, this parotid one is the largest one. It is simply present below each ear on both the sides, and this parotid duct or Stenson's duct is responsible for releasing its secretion of saliva into the mouth region. Next to this, we have submandibular gland. As the name indicates, submandibular region. So they are present below exactly the region that is the mandible region. Okay, the lower jaw region. Okay, this they exactly release the secretion by the help of Watson duct. Then after last one is the sublingual gland. These are the smallest salivary gland, as the name indicates, sublingua. Lingua means tongue. So they are present below the tongue, okay, beneath the tongue, and are responsible for through multiple small ducts known as ravenous duct. They release the secretion in the tongue region. Okay. Next to this, the saliva. Saliva is the main secretion exactly produces by the salivary gland. Okay, in the oral cavity, it's simply comprised of variety of ion like potassium ion, sodium ion, chlorine ion, and different specific types of enzymes as well, like salivary amylase and lysozyme. The salivary amylase are very much important for digesting the starch, that is the carbohydrate, about 30%, and it simply changes into maltose. Next to this, the lysozyme is very important because it's a hydrolytic enzyme. See, this is sorry, this lysozyme are very important and are responsible for providing the action, we can simply say, like it is responsible for preventing the bacterial growth. Okay, it is antibacterial by nature and it prevent the infection. Okay, the salivary amylase is very important. It's simply it's a hydrolytic enzyme. Splitting of carbohydrate about the 30% takes place with the help of salivary amylase. And what is exactly the thing which is getting formed after digestion is simply the maltose. This maltose sugar is exactly formed after digestion of starch. So we can simply observe that the starch are finally changes into maltose, or the starch we can simply say about 30% is getting changed with the help of salivary amylase. Okay, next to this we have our next specific region of a buccal cavity, that is the tongue. Tongue, as you know, it's a fleshy organ, or we can simply say an organ which is made up of completely of the muscles, and they're simply attached to the buccal cavity. Okay, floor of the buccal cavity. Okay, that we can call as the frenulum. Okay, that thing is known as, students, frenulum. Okay, the frenulum is what, as you can simply see in the diagram, the above region, as you simply see just below the tongue, it's a line segment region. Okay, this is known as the frenulum. It's simply the skin fold. And apart to that, above region of the tongue, we can simply observe that small papillae are present. Okay, these papillae are the small projections which having taste buds. They are having taste buds. They are having taste buds which are responsible for receiving the impulses for the taste. Okay, next to this we have next region, that is the pharynx. As the food, as we simply understand this thing, as the food simply move from the mouth region to the tongue region, it reaches to the common chamber, that is the pharynx, a common chamber about which the food and air is simply getting passed. Okay, as we can simply say, there is a flap like structure, there is a flap like structure known as the epiglottis, which are responsible, which simply guards the entry of the windpipe. As we simply swallow the food, it's simply getting covered, or it's simply lidded. This epiglottis is lidded about the windpipe so that if the food is easily getting swallowed. If in a situation like if a person is, while they are eating, they are simply talking, what will happen in such condition, about epiglottis is somewhat a little bit get open. In such case, the food is simply going to enter into the wrong side, that is the windpipe, and what will happen, it might causes the condition known as aspiration or getting choked. So while we are eating, one thing we should remember, that while we are eating, no need to talk. Okay, be focused about what you are doing, that is eating the food. Next to this, we have another segment, that is the oesophagus or food pipe. This is simply a long tube like structure which are present above the, we can simply say, the frontal region is simply composed of this larynx or the windpipe. Just behind that region, we can simply observe that oesophagus, it's a thin and a long tube which is simply extended posteriorly, passing through the neck and simply enter into the stomach region. Okay, stomach region. Next, we can simply see the mucus in saliva, which is very much play an important role here. It simply lubricates the food. After the food is getting masticated, it simply lubricates the food and forming the bolus. Okay, and what we can simply observe, as the bolus is getting formed, it's simply getting conveyed or transferred to the pharynx region, and from the pharynx it reaches to the esophagus safely by swallowing or degglutination. Okay, next to this, next step after this, that food which is passed down by the esophagus is not just move in in a way like straight in a straight way. It simply passes very slowly about the movement or the muscular movement of contraction or the muscular contraction we can simply call as the peristalsis. It's a wavy like movement about the muscles of alimentary canal about due to by which the food is easily getting passed slowly about the region of esophagus. Okay, next to this, as the food it simply enter into the stomach, there is a sphincter or a lid which is present, which guards the entry of the stomach, that is gastroesophageal sphincter. Okay, as the food enter into the stomach region. Okay, next to this we have a very important segment, that is here stomach. Okay, stomach is what? It's a muscular organ, students. It's a J-shaped bag-like structure. It's a J-shaped bag-like structure. As you can simply see observe the figure of it. It's simply a J-shaped. Okay, it comprises of different specific regions, students. Okay, they are simply fundus, cardiac, body, and pylorus region. Okay, this fundus region is the upper round part of the stomach. As you can simply observe, this portion is the fundus region. Okay, next to this we have a cardiac region. Cardiac region is present, we can simply say, a part of the esophagus. Here we can simply observe this portion is the cardiac portion. Next to this, we have a body. So this is some simply we can call as the body of the stomach, and it's simply the main central region. Finally, the last portion. The last portion is the pyloric or pylorus region. Okay, so what we can simply observe, student, the cells of the stomach are simply constantly exposed to the digestive juices. As the food enter inside the stomach, there are certain specific cavity, or there are certain specific region or infolding present in the wall of the stomach, which are known as rugae, and this rugae are responsible for increasing the surface area of the stomach. And the food, as it enter inside the stomach, there is a churning movement takes place about the food, and it simply mixes with the secretion of the different specific types of the uh, enzymes or the by the wall of the stomach, and initiate, or we can simply say, digestion takes place about the food. So we can simply say that food, after it's simply passed out or mixing with the acid, there is an acid known as hydrochloric acid released by the wall of the stomach, which are helping the food, making the food acidic. And that acidic food is very much essential, because that it play two major role. First of all, this hydrochloric acid is responsible for providing, we can simply say, as an antibacterial property, or it will not allow any specific type of pathogen to simply spoil the food. And second one, making the food acidic so that other enzymes of the stomach are easily acting on the food and helping in digestion. And after the food is digested about the stomach, now the food is known as chyme, and this chyme is simply getting passed about the small intestine region. So we can simply observe that in about the wall of the stomach, students, in the wall of the stomach, or in the alimentary canal, we can simply observe the four specific layers, students. Serosa is the outermost layer. Okay, so we can simply say serosa. Serosa is exactly the outermost layer. Okay, next to this, we have two specific layers which are known as muscularis. Outer one comprised of the longitudinal muscle, and the inner one comprises of the circular muscles. So the outer one is the serosa. These two are simply the muscularis, the longitudinal, and this one is circular. Circular. Okay, next to this we have submucosal wall, submucosa, and finally we have mucosa, the inner one, mucosa. And internally we can observe the lumen or the empty space. Okay, so these are the different specific types of the wall present, starting from serosa. Serosa is the outermost layer. It's simply consisting of thin layer of connective tissue, helping in anchoring the stomach in place. In here exactly, it simply anchors the stomach in the place. This is the outermost layer, simply comprised of connective tissue. Next to this, we have a muscularis layer, which are simply consisting of smooth muscle, which are simply contract, very slowly contract, and helping in mixing the food or churning the food. Next to this, we have some mucosa just below, just we can simply say beneath the mucosa. It's simply consisting of blood supply, which are responsible for providing the nutrition to the mucosal region. Mucosa is the innermost layer. It's very important because it protects the stomach from hydrochloric acid. Okay, as it simply coated in the inner region of the stomach, it will not allow that hydrochloric acid to affect mainly the wall of the stomach. Okay, so the wall of the stomach is simply getting protected just because the mucosa layer is present. Okay, next to this also we can observe there are foldings, as you all observe students in about the mucosal region. They are responsible for increasing the surface area so that maximum nutrient absorption takes place. Next to this, move to our next segment, that is the small intestine. As the food is getting passed about, we can simply say the food, it simply enter about the region known as the intestine, the one the longest and the, we can simply say, highly coiled structure is the small intestine, where exactly two major functions are getting performed. What are the two major functions which are getting performed, students? The first one is the digestion of the food, and second one is the absorption. Okay, so starting from small intestine, let's just understand about the different segments of the small intestine. It mainly composed of three specific region: a C-shaped duodenum region. Okay, then exactly a long coiled major portion we can simply call as jejunum, and finally a highly coiled ileum region. This is the ileum region, or ileum we can call. So we can simply say that as the stomach reaches to the first segment, that is the duodenum, it is simply guarded by the pyloric sphincter. So what we can simply observe, as it reaches from the esophagus to the stomach, there is also a sphincter, students. That sphincter is, we can call as the gastroesophageal sphincter, and here exactly between the duodenum and the stomach there is a sphincter known as pyloric sphincter. Okay, and there is a pyloric sphincter, we can simply observe about this region. And talking about the length of the small intestine, it is just about 5 meter long. It's the longest one. It receives out of 9 meter of complete alimentary canal length, 5 meter it's simply of small intestine. It receives the secretions from the liver and the pancreas. Variety of the gland, with the help of their ducts, pancreatic duct and cystic duct, they releases the secretion in the small intestine. They releases the variety of the juices in the small intestine. Three specific part, that is the duodenum. It's a C-shaped part, exactly where enzymes from the pancreas and the bile from the liver are added to the chyme. The chyme is what? The food which is coming from the stomach, known as the chyme, the partially digested one. It's simply now acting on acting by the enzymes of pancreas and liver, that is the bile, helping in the digestion of different components of food. Next to this, we have jejunum region. The food is simply getting passed to the jejunum region. It's a coiled middle part. The middle part simply composed of this. Okay, here exactly the major absorption portion takes place, we can simply observe. And finally the ileum region, about which we can simply, that's a final section of this of small intestine, and we can simply observe. And next to this, as it simply ended, it reaches to the large intestine. After the food is getting absorbed about the villi, the process of absorption takes place, as the sorry that villi perform the function of the absorption. We can simply observe as the food is getting digested, all such type of the roughage which is exactly getting generated, or the waste which is exactly getting generated, are transferred to the large intestine for absorption of the water, minerals and vitamins. Okay, next to this we can simply observe villi. Villi are what? Villi are the finger-like projection, students. Villi are what? These are called finger-like projection. Inner wall of small intestine is simply composed of the villi. Villi are finger-like projection having a large variety of having a large specific blood vessels in it. A dense network of blood vessel we can observe in the villi, very well networked by the blood vessels consisting of arteries, veins, and there are certain specific region known as lacteal for the fat absorption. Okay, so what we can simply observe, the inner walls of the small intestine have 1,000 finger-like projections called the villi. In a singular way, we can call as the villus. There are two major functions performed by the villi. The first one, the major function, is the absorption of the food. Second one, we can simply, as they are present in a million in number, so they are responsible for increasing the surface area. So first, as they are increasing the surface area, as they are increasing the surface area, they are very much potent for the absorption of the food. Okay, and they are richly supplied with the blood vessels, lymph vessels also known as the lacteal, which is the one of the biggest one. Okay, here exactly all such component of the food like protein, carbohydrate, fat is simply getting absorbed by the villi, and it's simply transported to the blood vessels to the and reaches to the different organs of the body where they are utilized for in different specific biochemical reaction in order to form or we can simply say build the complex substances like complex protein. As we can simply here exactly the we can take an example of the protein. The protein is getting digested and changes into simplest amino acids. Here it when it simply absorbs with the blood, it is getting reaches to the different side where these amino acids are responsible for forming the different specific types of the proteins which are required by the body, and that process by which the absorbed food is getting utilized, that is known as assimilation. Okay, so in the cells what we can simply observe, we can take an example. In a cell, the glucose is simply getting break down with in the presence of oxygen, we can call as a aerobic respiration. And what we can observe, as it's simply getting by the process of aerobic respiration or cellular respiration, it finally changes into carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the form of ATP. Nearly about 38 ATP is generated from one glucose molecule. Okay, next to this, as the food is getting digested, absorbed, and assimilated, and whatsoever the waste, it's simply getting shifted about the large intestine. This is the last segment of today's lecture. So what is exactly large intestine is all about? It's simply of small length but broad. Okay, and it play a major role in removing, or we can simply say uh, it's simply responsible for changing, we can simply say it's simply responsible from removing water from the undigested matter or waste. Okay, finally the it's as the water is getting removed out, all such type of the solid waste or the poop we can call as, it's simply getting excreted. So how the process goes on, there are three specific segments or the parts of the large intestine. The first one is the cecum. As the name cecum, it simply begins with the intestine. See, it's simply joining with the ileum portion of the small intestine. Okay, we can simply say there is an extension or a finger like pouch like structure which are hang out extension of the cecum known as the appendix. Okay, this is vermiform appendix which are simply vestigial organs in human, there is no such use of it. As second part, we can simply talk about which is major part known as colon. It is divided into three specific segment: ascending, transverse, and descending. Okay, and this is how we can simply on the basis of the position and the way it's simply getting arranged, ascending, transverse, and descending, three specific types of the region we can simply see or observed about the colon. Okay, so the colon extend from the cecum up right side of the abdomen, the ascending one, this is the right side ascending one, and across the upper abdomen that we can simply observe above region about the abdomen, we can simply observe the transverse colon, and on the left side and the downward portion we can simply say a descending colon. Okay, and it finally getting connected with a broad portion where exactly that waste or poop is stored, and until it leaves the digestive system, it's simply getting stored about that region. And finally, by the process of defecation, or we can simply call egestion, the waste is getting egested out of the body via bowel movement. And this is all about how exactly the parts of the alimentary canal are arranged and how exactly the food is passed about the different segments of the intestine. In the next lecture, we'll study about the different specific role of the glands which play an important role in digestion of food. Okay,